The benefits I can say after the implementation of this smart meter project was that the solution was for us to implement the smart meter project, which was the objective also of the EU donor funding. All the post-paid conventional meters were converted to prepaid smart meters. And then most of the bypass meters were corrected. And then there was an improved collection in terms of revenue, because the project itself was more based on the revenue collection, revenue enhancement part. And the technical losses were reduced from, like I said, from 26% to less than 6%, which is also within the acceptable range by NERSA. And the consumer were able to also view their usage, which this will also reduce the constraint on the network itself. And also the live monitoring of each consumers and also the paper billing. Those were the benefits of the project itself.
There's lots of advantages, but I believe such advantages we will be able to reap those off after maybe several years of having the system, because the actual AMI system is complex in such a way that you need to have sufficient data to be able to actually see how much we have achieved. Such things as maybe not disconnecting a customer. Let's say it's a credit or postpaid meter and your customer is in arrears and you need to disconnect. You can opt to not to disconnect, but maybe load limit to 5 amps or 10 amps, ensuring that as much as you've disconnected your customer, but he's still got lights in his house. That is what I believe would be the advantage of the system in years to come, because as it matures, it also shows other advantages that it will have for the actual customer, because our priority is to see our customers benefiting out of the actual system, beside the data from us. When you look at it in terms of our perspective of us being the service provider to our customers, they need to also have like tangible benefits from the actual system. Yeah.
The electricity industry is changing drastically, and no longer can any of us as local authorities or anyone just buy an electron, in inverted commas, mark it up and sell it, because there's too much competition with the renewables now. So we've got to look at ways of sustaining the networks and how we can converge the data. We did a very interesting test as well, is we introduced a fifth utility service. So we built smart grid systems to manage high-mast lighting and lighting in an asset management arena, but then use that spare capacity to create a fifth utility service, being internet access and data and voice, which was very successful.
Our meter is a GPRS-based meter. In other words, it communicates with the server directly, the same as a cell phone would communicate with another person. So you don't have to do a few customers and then relay through a concentrator and run that signal or data updates to the server. The meter communicates directly. So it's real-time communication. When I go onto the system here, I see immediately what is on the meter there. It's not delay, no delay. I see what is on the meter. I can switch it on and off remotely. You can never have to send a meter reader out there because you've got the readings on your system. And one person can sit and do the work of 20 people that did it before. So we really feel that the GPRS system is by far the best system. Well, we scored 100% on our functionality testing, which means that it's the perfect project. All the customers that are coming in here, well, 99% of the customers are extremely happy with the meter. The municipality is very, very happy with the meter and the system. So I would say this is a very, very successful project.
Okay, basically we are here at Bramcourt. It's one of our sites where we have deployed the smart meters in terms of the AMI project. Where we are, it's one of our mini substations. We've got 2 substations here in this site and 375 units, right? So we've got a data concentrator that talks to our head-end system in our offices. So the data concentrator that is installed here is able to communicate with the meters that are at about 94 units in this complex. So we are able to pick up the information from the meters via this data concentrator. It's got a data SIM card that is able to send information to our head-end system. So it's actually a device that is able to send information to our back-end system. It collects data from our customer meters, and then it stores it up to about 3 months, but you are able to configure it to actually send it in every 30-minute interval depending on your settings. You can set it to send it once a day, once a week, depending on your actual requirement. But for our current setup, we are sending data once every day to the back-end system. So the information, like maybe if a meter is tempered and triggers, if maybe there's a downtime, maybe there's loss of power in this substation, the data concentrator is able to also send such information to our head-end system. When the meter is actually tempered with, or the terminal cover is removed, the data concentrator is able to pick up that even if the actual power was switched off at the customer's level. So that to us is a plus, because we don't need to actually send out people to go and actually do routine inspections to pick up meters that are tempered. We are able to pick up the actual temper as it happens, and then we can respond immediately by sending out technicians to actually go and check what is it that might have transpired. The red light displays that the actual meter now is at disconnected mode. We will now request our colleague at the office to actually reconnect the meter. And then you will see the red light will disappear, showing that the actual conductor is now closed. As you can see now, the actual meter has been reconnected and the red LED has switched off, showing that the actual conductor is now closed. So now the customer is able to actually communicate with the meter outside using this device called the customer interface unit. As you can see on the screen, it's showing exactly how much of credit is remaining for the customer. So he's able to pick up such information, and when maybe he wants to load a token, because this meter is on prepaid mode, he is able to actually load the meter using this device. If he's out of credit, since the system uses PLC 3G PLC communication, it's got a backup battery, so that battery is used up to actually power and send the signal to the actual meter, and he is able to interact with the actual meter even if there is no power. But if there is power, like in this case, the battery is not used.
Although we haven't realized the full benefit at this stage, some of the benefits that we are realizing is, improved data and information that we have, which is allow us to, undertake various analytics on our network. Coupled with that is that now the customer itself would be in a better position to understand the consumption. They, basically at any point in time are able to understand what they're consuming. They are then in a better position to change their behavior, which in actual fact would result in savings to them by changing their behavior. Then it would reduce their consumption.
It's important to understand Sanedi's mandate. Sanedi's mandate in this particular program is really a research, development and demonstration, right? So we have an applied research mandate. So Sanedi plays a role specifically in the applied research sector. And our role in that is to take technology that exists, right? So it's not fundamental research. It's taking technology that exists, packaging it in a way that solves government problems.
Smart grid means information, tying into IT systems, so data hacking and privacy issues become a concern. So just understanding what the risks are and how to and implementing proper guidelines for implementing smart grid technologies is key. So we've put together training material that covers that and presented it to all municipalities so they have a proper guideline when they are implementing smart grid technologies. Smart metering is another key is another key piece of technology that's driving smart grid enablement within the utility space. So what we do there is we make sure that municipalities are properly advised on rollout strategies, the skills that's needed, understanding the hardware requirements, specifications, meter data management systems, the actual meter hardware, and then ensuring alignment and compliance in terms of DTI regulations and so forth. So we've put together a very nice training program for that. All in all, it was a success, but you do get challenges where you need to convince people that this is important and this is the bigger picture, and just lining that up to making sure that there's execution and delivery. I think that was probably one of the few key challenges, and in other cases, it might be to source, liaising with the ESCOMs, for example, just making sure that there's meetings in place with the right people to impart the knowledge that's needed. But all in all, I think industry was quite supportive, and we were able to put together a solid program that delivered on what we set out to do. What we're doing is we're now skilling students in areas that are vital to the industry. So in areas like smart metering, distributed generation, and that's really the future of where the industry is going. Students that have been funded through the programs get hands-on skills and experience. Some of the technologies that you see that we've developed in the lab, including demand management control, active demand management control, distribution system network planning. Students are working on those key focus areas. And through that research, we're able to publish in leading journals internationally. We're able to publish in leading conferences internationally. And it gives students the opportunity to interact on an international level as well as a national level, but be able to utilize those skills in moving the, in driving the economy forward. So it's definitely helped, the funding helped with the procurement of equipment, smart grid equipment that we needed for testing, for development testing, and the bursaries helped with students' accommodation, with their registration fees, and then the standard allowance that's needed for students. I think overall, as part of the program, the bursaries that were provided by Sanedi and Department of Energy was really positive for the university and for the students.
I was granted the bursary from Sanedi, a partial bursary from Sanedi in my final year of study. Sanedi also was able to fund my studies, my continuous studies for my masters, my honours and my masters. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to continue studying. It was absolutely phenomenal just to be able to have that opportunity and to be able to continue studying because of them. For me, the research, firstly, it's allowed me just the access of knowledge. I don't know if you're very familiar, but the university gives you access to all IEEE documents, and just that the vast amount of knowledge, and it's very expensive as a normal outside person to be able to get access to that. For me, it's the ability or the idea that it'll be able to change people's lives. For me, I'm focusing on low voltage DC microgrids for electrification of rural areas, which essentially is enabling people by giving them electricity. And that's something that I think maybe not South Africa suffers as much about, but in terms of a global population, there's billions of people that still don't have electricity, and that's a very enabling thing and concept to be able to know that you're studying something and you're researching something that has the potential to change millions of people's lives. The challenge mainly would have been that you can't Google anything. And it's something, it's a very strange concept to people outside of the field of study, where you think, oh, you've got a problem, just go Google it or something, where this has never been thought of, never been done. So first of all, you don't know what to search on, and you don't know how to search for it, and then also there are no results for it. So you're physically from the ground starting something brand new and overcoming their own problems. So I would say that is the biggest problem, because there was no backbone, there's no starting reference point for me to start from.
Dr. Raj approached me, and I was asked to actually design an interface. I don't know how familiar you are with PV panels. I was designing the interface basically to integrate the PV panel into the grid. And the whole highlight was to see the whole thing working, basically. Me starting the whole design from scratch and ending the whole thing to actually submitting something that is actually working. It's a multidisciplinary thing. It often puts you on your toes. You are often challenged with something that you've actually never seen or even never done. So most of the things are challenging naturally, but what will stand out is the dealing with a lot of new software and new basically equipments that I need to actually learn to use, and all of that. That has been the most challenging thing, but I've managed to surpass that.
In closing, I'll say this project was intense. It was loaded with knowledge, and we learned so much. Now, to elaborate on those things, intense in the sense that we ourselves never knew what we were getting into. We thought municipalities were a bed of roses, they were ready to roll, we could just work with them, we were all the same frequency, project management standards were there, technical standards were there, the right people were there. We walked into a place where we found that so many things were not functional. So we had to go back to the drawing board and take baby steps. Intense in the sense that it required a lot of physical energy from us, a lot of thinking outside the box, a lot of conflict, and a lot of patience to be able to understand the point of view of different people. And then it is rich and packed with knowledge, because we've been reading about what has been happening internationally. Our South African story is unique. So it is so rich that we can now say things that we know locally and not just read off other people's experiences.